Happening now, the latest on a surge in COVID-19 cases in Chautauqua County. Executive PJ Wendell joins us live with an update. Plus, why a new law could dramatically hurt family farms here in New York State.
And more heat and humidity is on the way, but we've got a little bit of days of fall to go through. I've got the details next. The News at Noon starts now.
Live and on demand, this is WNY News Now.
And thanks for joining us for WNY News Now. I'm Justin Gould. Our top story, a surge in COVID-19 cases related to an outbreak at a northern Chautauqua County employer is continuing to grow. Here's a look at the updated COVID-19 case map. Health officials say there are now 105 active cases after 36 new cases were reported yesterday. Of the active, 75 are related to the outbreak at Fieldbrook Foods in Dunkirk. A free rapid testing site is now set up at the Dunkirk Fire Department Murphy Training Grounds on Brigham Road in Dunkirk. Those looking to get tested for COVID-19 are asked to make an appointment by calling 833-697-8764. We have that information posted right now on WNYNewsNow.com. County health officials are continuing to urge residents to wear a mask when in public and avoid large gatherings and stay home if they feel ill. Coming up, Chautauqua County Executive PJ Wendell joins us live to talk more about the outbreak here locally. Well, the Democrat candidate for Chautauqua County Executive says that he's concerned with current leadership's lack of transparency and timeliness in addressing the COVID-19 outbreak there at Fieldbrook Foods. Richard Morrisroe, in an interview with WNY News Now this morning, questioned his opponent, Executive PJ Wendell's ability to keep the public informed about the COVID-19 pandemic. Morrisroe says the public deserves to know what happened at Fieldbrook Farms within days, not within weeks. The COVID-19 cluster comes weeks ahead of the new school year, where thousands of children will be back in the classroom for the first time since March. The candidate is also calling for free rapid testing for every public school employee and student ahead of the start of the year.
Keeping things more specific to the cities and the employment sites is okay. That was a conscious decision made by this county executive and his team to do these fire battalions, which may be familiar because he's a volunteer firefighter, but it's not specific enough. And especially now with the schools going online, I think they have to be very specific about not only which school districts may or may not have an infection or an infection spike, but which buildings. It's that important for the teachers, the parents, the kids, and everyone else involved.
Morrisroe says if he was executive, he would hold a public information session announcing countywide testing within 48 hours and sharing vital information to the public who may have encountered those infected. Meanwhile, nationwide, the United States is hitting another disturbing milestone in this coronavirus pandemic, with 6 million confirmed cases. But as Melissa Rainey reports, health experts say there is some good news.
COVID cases continue to hit grim milestones. Just over 7 months ago, no one in the U.S. had a confirmed case. Now the U.S. has topped 6 million cases. That's according to Johns Hopkins University. The somber reality that comes with those numbers, more than 183,000 people in the U.S. have died. In Los Angeles Monday, a memorial honored the more than 5,700 people who have died in that county alone. But despite those high numbers, there is some good news.
So as a nation, we are clearly doing better now on the last day of August than we were on the first day of August. The cases have come down. Deaths are starting to decline. Hospitalizations are down. This is good news.
Colleges across the country are working to stay ahead of outbreaks as some students return to campus. A New York university canceled in-person classes for at least 2 weeks after an outbreak there. That outbreak is linked to a large party. School leaders say dozens of students have been suspended for violating the code of conduct.
We have already suspended dozens of our students for violating codes of conduct. We have to instill in people that it's not just your actions. Your actions have consequences on everyone else. It could impact our faculty and get them sick. It can impact the student body population. So we're going to keep reinforcing that message saying We want to keep these colleges open.
3 vaccines are now in phase 3 trials in the United States. Even so, health officials say a vaccine probably won't be publicly available until at least early 2021. I'm Melissa Rainey reporting.
Melissa, thank you. Back here in New York, 2 additional states were added to the COVID-19 travel advisory today. Governor Andrew Cuomo says the states are Alaska and Montana. The advisory requires individuals who have traveled to New York from areas with significant community spread to quarantine for 14 days. Now, that quarantine applies to any person having arrived from an area where a positive test rate is higher than 10 per 100,000 residents over a 7-day rolling average. New York State's infection rate is below 1% and has been there for the last 25 days, with the number of patients in ICUs remaining at 109, the lowest number since March 15th. Well, we thank you all for joining us here for WNY News Now as we continue to put facts over fear in our coverage of COVID-19 and educating the community on this outbreak. Let's check in with the comments and say hello to Joseph. Hopefully you're doing well. Thanks so much for joining us today. Good to see Clayton, Teresa, and Peggy as well. Good afternoon to David, Wendy, and Kirk. Hopefully you are having a good day. We thank you so much for joining us. Let's now switch gears and get a check of our First Defense weather forecast with Chief Forecaster Dakota Hunter. Happy Tuesday, Dakota.
Happy Tuesday, Justin. Happy Tuesday to you. We are in September. Can you believe that? I mean, we are almost done with the end. I mean, we're close to the end of the year. Here's a live look coming from Findlay Lake, and you can see just a few clouds overhead, 71. And don't know who's moving there, but whoever's moving, there you are. You're famous right now. But notice the dew point up there at 64 degrees today. So the wind yesterday was a bit of an issue. We had a peak wind gust of 29 in Dunkirk, 22 here in town. And so it was a little bit breezy. The winds have came down a little bit for today, so it's not going to be as breezy as it was yesterday. First Defense Doppler radar shows you nothing, but there will be a chance for a few scattered showers through the afternoon. It's a small chance, wouldn't really count on it. I think the better chance is going to be tomorrow. 66 here in town right now, 73 Mayville, 75 Fredonia, 71 Klein. We're already up to 80 up in Buffalo up there, and a 63 over in Olean. So temperatures below the averages for this time of the year, and part of it is this. There's going to be more cloud cover today, so that's going to help hold our temperatures down. We'll call it partly sunny on average. A chance for an isolated shower or sprinkle through the afternoon. Humid, but not quite as breezy. 73 to 78 with a south wind averaging about 7 to 14 miles per hour. But we've got some more humidity on the way, then fall-like air will return for a while. I'll talk about it in a few. Justin?
All right, Dakota, looking forward to it. Thank you very much. Local representatives in Albany are proposing legislation that would help farmers already struggling due to this pandemic. During a virtual press conference yesterday, State Senator George Borrello announced legislation that would give the state more time to study the effects of a recent overtime threshold change. The change, part of the Farm Laborers Fair Labor Practices Act, requires farmers starting on January 1st to pay farm workers overtime once they clock in more than 60 hours in a week. Borrello says if New York's Wage Labor Board decides to lower the threshold, it would cripple New York's family farms.
The bottom line is that if this threshold is lowered to below 60 hours a week, many of our farms and our farm jobs will go away forever. 90% of our farms here in New York State are family farms. If these start to close, we will see the corporate farms that we've seen in other states in New York State, and that will have a negative impact on the industry.
According to a survey conducted by the State Farm Bureau, around 43% of farms reported to have lost sales during the pandemic due to a decrease in product demands. Currently, the Farm Laborers Wage Board has until December 31st to issue their recommendations on the overtime threshold. Well, the U.S. Agricultural Department is extending a free school meal program to millions of children. The program allows families in need to pick up free food from any convenient school campus, even if their child is not enrolled there. Now, in the past, the program was only offered during the summer months when school was not in session. But the expanded program allows for free meals to be provided during any time of the day, whether kids are on site or learning virtually. It's estimated that around 30 million children benefit from school lunches each day. The USDA launched the new school lunch program in March due to the pandemic at around 80,000 sites nationwide. Now, until this week, the program was supposed to expire in September when children were expected to return to school. It's now been extended until at least the end of the year. Well, coming up next, Chautauqua County Executive P.J. Wendell joins us live to talk more about the COVID-19 outbreak here locally. Stay with us as WNY News Now continues.
With coverage that matters, this is WNY News Now.
EagleZip.com is your local one-stop shop for all of your home and business computer needs. Located on Fluvan Avenue Extension, just outside of Jamestown, EagleZip.com sells and services all brands of desktops and laptops, as well as servers and network equipment for your business. All new computer sales include transferring your data from your old computer plus a 2-year warranty. Call EagleZip.com today.
Stop by EagleZip.com today and let us make computers easy for you.
I grew up in a single-parent home. We were raised by my mom in a one-bedroom apartment in Queens, and I slept in what was supposed to be a dining room just off the kitchen. We were poor and fell behind in our bills. More than once, our electricity was shut off and there were eviction notices taped to our door. I remember walking into our kitchen and finding my mother standing by the stove, crying to herself because she didn't know what to do and felt helpless. I was about 9 or 10 when our apartment was robbed. I remember arriving home with my mother and brother and finding the door open, feeling confused because the first thing I saw was that our television, a set which forever sat on a stand in the living room, was missing. I know firsthand what it's like to be a victim, to be assaulted, robbed, to have things taken from you which you're never going to get back, and to be scarred by experiences which 30 and 40 years later still haunt me. We're lucky enough to live in Chautauqua County where by and large we feel safe, but unfortunately bad things do happen here. I want to be the district attorney who personally prosecutes the most serious crimes and who's there for victims every step of the way. These are the people I want to represent, to fight for their justice, to fight for our justice in the courtroom, to help people who have suffered at the hands of others. This is why I want to be your district attorney.
You're watching WNY News Now, where coverage comes first.
And welcome back to WNY News Now. Last week, county health officials announced a spike in COVID-19 cases due to an outbreak at a North County employer. Joining us on the program to talk more about the county's response is Chautauqua County Executive P.J. Wendell. Sir, thank you for your time today. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Justin.
Well, yesterday, county health officials announced 36 new cases of COVID-19, with more than half of those tied to the outbreak there at Fieldbrook Foods. How much of a concern is this creating for your office right now?
Oh, it's a great deal of concern, and it has been for, since this began, as to more than just a few cases. Timeline, as I put in the paper today, began a week ago Thursday. So it would have been, get the day right after the 16th. We were informed that there was a large number of individuals who were sent home, at which time proactively we worked with Wells Incorporated out of Iowa, the parent company. We worked locally with Fieldbrook Foods, and we got the rapid testing set up. So the idea that this took weeks to get out to the public isn't necessarily true. Also, what people have to realize is the concern was there was no transparency and we weren't informing the public. Well, having said that, those individuals, and we have to remember this has been the case all along, those who are close contacts were informed immediately as part of the contact tracing. So the idea that, the public does not come in and out of Fieldbrook Farm Foods as, let's say, a Walmart or a large box store, the idea of informing everybody in the county was, something that we were looking at and hasn't been the protocol moving along. We call those who are close contacts, which has been the practice right along. The contact tracers did their jobs and we moved forward. So, it was a concern. It still is a concern. We're monitoring it daily. We're in constant contact. We, again, within, this first case started on Sunday. By Thursday, we had already had the plan implemented. As people were hanging on my words, it took time to plan. Several agencies were involved: the New York State Department of Health, Chautauqua County EMS, Chautauqua County Department of Health and Human Services. So from Thursday afternoon until Friday, those plans were in place and ready to go, and were being carried out and implemented on Tuesday. They were officially going to start Monday, but we felt one more day to bring everybody back. That first day back was going to be a challenge. So the decision was made to move it to Tuesday to give a little bit of information to the employees about when it would take place, rather than reading it in the news and having concerns coming into work Monday morning.
Yeah, and I know we asked Health Director Schuyler this previously as to what caused this spike, and she said that's really what the contact tracing process is for. Do you know yet if it was some sort of group gathering that contributed to the number of cases there at the plant?
Well, we do know that was happening, and it was in my report this morning. And during our contact tracing, we were reported by one individual that in the time they were tested until they found out their results, they did have a get-together at their house with nearly 40 people. So was that the case? We don't know. There were several different social gatherings that took place throughout that time. But it's important to remember that when you are tested, you should not be having people at your house. We should not be out in the public. You get tested, you're to go home and quarantine and isolate yourself until those test results come back. And, failing to do that is a concern. And this is everybody. This has been from the very beginning. So we can't pinpoint it to any one person. I mean, realistically, we all are in this together. We need to do the right thing. And, if somebody's having a get together and you don't feel comfortable, then don't go. We have different pause orders that have come across that, somebody's having a wedding. I don't feel comfortable going. Then that's your right. We're not forcing anybody to go anywhere. We're not forcing people to go into gyms. We're not forcing people to do things they don't want to do. If you don't feel comfortable, that is your right here in the United States to exercise that right and not to attend.
Now, you mentioned that the governor's pause order, which was a big topic for a long, long time, was when we were going to get out of that. The governor says statewide numbers are going in the right direction. He rose a red flag Monday for Western New York and over the weekend of last week. For you, what did you feel that we can recover from this situation here in the North County? And how do we do that?
Well, Justin, we do this the way we've done it all along, is we need people and all of us together, whether it's North or South County. This isn't, any one area. We need to make sure that all of us here in the county, because there are some cases linked to Fieldbrook Foods that reside in Jamestown. So this isn't just a one specific part of the county concern. It's everybody. But it's that concern that we talk about in our control room. This is something that County Executive Poloncarz and I have both said. Being in phase 4, we've been there for several weeks, since right around the 4th of July. So has there been complacency? We've seen that across the board. And we need to remind people that, again, with school coming up, with colleges back in session, people need to remember these social gatherings. Even if you're a college student, you're coming back and you want to hang out 10 or 12 of you with your friends, is that really the right thing to do? Giving up one semester, 1 year of discipline is going to pay off. And that's what we're asking everyone to do. I reached out yesterday with County Executive Poloncarz and Niagara County Chairwoman Rebecca Whittish, and we are going to be doing some Western New York public service announcements, the three of us, reminding the large counties, reminding all residents that we are still in this. This is still a worldwide pandemic. Our numbers are low. They still remain to be low, but we have seen an uptick in a cluster. And just as we talked, we were on this from the very beginning. So the idea that we let this go for weeks is not necessarily the truth. It's not the truth. We are immediately moving into action, and we got everything set up in the testing as required. So the contact tracing had taken place, and we're going to continue to do that. Christine Schuyler had reached out. Their group has getting battle weary. We do have reinforcements. We have reassigned people within the county already, especially with those Spanish speaking, that is going to help out as well. So yes, we're looking at this across the board, and all of the systems are in place and working. So I just want people to realize that whatever we're reading, transparency, we have to look at this process from March 16th until now. I don't think there was ever a time when information did not come out. And if we were not transparent, would we post 36 cases yesterday, 20 cases prior to that early on? This information is public knowledge, and we need to get out into the public and let them know what the status is and what our cases are.
Yeah, and to that point, you have had some people who have, as you mentioned, spoke out against and spoke to what they call a lack of transparency. I know the Assembly candidate Christina Cardinelli alleged that you covered up COVID cases. Today, your opponent Richard Morris-Rowe spoke out to what he called that lack of transparency about the pandemic. It has been such a long haul, and things are so fluid. To get to where we are now, for you to hear these calls, that we're what, 4 months into the pandemic? I mean, for you, what does it say, I guess, to the community and to those who are speaking out?
Well, what it's saying is now it's become political. This, for us, is a health concern. We have been treating it as a health concern. My job is right now running Chautauqua County, protecting and providing for the health and safety of our residents. And we are doing that the same in September 1st as we were on March 15th when we first declared the state of emergency. Nothing has changed. We haven't let off the gas. We haven't been loose with our reaction. We have been very proactive throughout the entire time. We've looked at things. I know one of the statements that was made as to talking amongst our control room about best practices. We talk, it was every day. Lieutenant Governor switched it to every other day. And those discussions are constantly, and as yesterday, Lieutenant Governor Hochul said, we need to have a strong message. As soon as the call was over, I picked up the phone and talked to Mark Polakars and said, hey, what can we do? Let's get some PSAs out. And he's like, great idea. So we're moving that along. I reached out to Chairwoman Whittish. She was on board as well. We'll be looping in with Jack Searles and Kurt Crandall from Cattaraugus and Allegheny counties, respectively. So, yes, we are doing this in a manner that is very upfront and transparent. Some of the things that people have to realize, we can't cover up cases. Those cases, when they are positive, go into eClares, which is a state registry. If we do not respond to those, the state will then come out and talk to us or issue a warning. So this is a process that's been going on, and we talked about this from the very beginning. What people don't realize is the amount of work that goes into our contact tracing and the information that goes out. Basically, it gets dumped into a big pile, and then we have to do what we've all referred to as scrubbing that information. How many cases are repeat positives? They were a positive that had already been tested that's already on our radar. How many are new cases? How many are, different, so we take all that information. So it's not just a matter of here's a report, it's a positive case, we turn and fill it out. That information comes, we have to scrub that, we have to provide all the information, make sure everything is out, because we do not, and has been my position from the very beginning, want any false information to get out. That's the point. And Mrs. Schuyler put in yesterday's press conference, with the number of cases being larger, we can give more information than we could have in the beginning. If you remember back, we were giving towns and ages of each individual and where they had been. So having said that, I was getting information with addresses and phone numbers. I deleted it immediately. I don't need to know that. But what had happened, and this is a regional-wide decision from the 8 counties involved in the Western New York health organizations. When you put out a zip code in a small town, people know where it is. Why has Erie County done that? The town of Amherst itself has 3 zip codes and is as large as Chautauqua County. That's one town in Erie County, New York. So again, our numbers were small. One of the things we were preventing was the safety of our residents, because in Cattaraugus County, they were posting zip codes and there were threats being made on social media. We didn't want to do this. And this goes back to March. These are things that we discussed early on and we took into consideration. And again, protecting the safety of our residents, those who were COVID related and those who were not. So up to this point, the transparency has been there. I just find it odd now that after one article that came out on Friday, that now we have a cry from Assembly candidate and my opponent that there's no transparency. The transparency has been there. We stand by that. We're going to continue to stand by it. We are putting out daily videos to update the public. We will be back to our weekly press conferences as we keep these numbers unfolding. But we have to remember that our hospitalizations still remain low. We also have to watch individuals in different areas. So it's not Fieldbrook Foods. There are other cases that are going on in Chautauqua County that we're continuing to monitor, and that's been our job all along. And it's unfortunate. Mrs. Schuyler's position on Friday was emotional, and it's emotional because of the hard work and dedication that those individuals are doing 7 days a week since this has started. And if people have a question, please ask Christine whether or not she feels supported from my office. Anything they need, anything those teams need, we are right there for them. And this has been a group effort. We have, from my COVID team to my COVID finance team, working across the board, making sure that the right information is out and the residents are informed and remain safe throughout this entire crisis.
Yeah, and if I may, those certainly are the true heroes on the front lines, and it goes, I think, from anybody from as simple as a young person working at Wegmans, trying to give food to people, to all the way to your office with Schuyler's staff, on the front lines, tracking this pandemic. In the final couple minutes we have here, I want to ask you about that PSA campaign that you mentioned. How far is that going to go, and how do you think the public is receiving this? Because we've had a lot of people who are kind of tired of following the guidelines and wearing their masks. And do you think that the PSA will have an impact, or do we have to continue to crack down and go to places and say this is not okay, you have to follow the rules?
All of the above, Justin. We need to work and operate on September 1st the same way we did in March 15th or 16th and that following week when this came out. We are still in it. And, the PSA, it's very much in its infancy. We just started. County Executive Polenkar's team was getting things up and running as far as scripting and the information we need to get out. But I think people need to realize this is something that the three counties have not done before. And we need to reiterate the fact that this is important. I don't know what else we can do. People are concerned, and we need everybody to remember this. We're not out of the woods. The masks are helping. If you look at other countries where this started, these are things that work. These are measures that work. But the other thing people have to realize is we've planned for this. Everything is working as it was intended. The belief was there would be an uptick or a spike in the fall. Well, we might be a couple of weeks early from the autumnal equinox. But at the bottom line is we're ready. Our teams are ready, and things are moving the way they had been planned from the very beginning. So it's unfortunate people have made this a political situation right now. To me, my concern is the safety and well-being of all of our residents and making sure that the correct information is out there so those people can make decisions on whether or not they want to attend events, whether or not they want to go places, and what businesses they want to support.
All right, Chautauqua County Executive P.J. Wendell joining us today. Sir, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Justin. Have a great day.
You too. Now let's get a check of our full weather forecast with Dakota.
Well, today is September 1st, but do you know what today also starts? It is officially, well, it's not officially fall, but it is fall in the meteorological sense. Yesterday ended meteorological summer, so here's a summer in review for you. So the temperature throughout the summer, which goes from June, July, and August for the meteorological world, our average temperature was 69.5. That is over 3 degrees above average to where it should be. And in terms of rain, we were actually below average rainfall for the summer at just a little over 11 inches. That's a 1.43 inch deficit. So again, but summer is not giving up yet here. We have a little bit of a warm up coming our way. Tomorrow, 78. Thursday, we're going to be up to near 80, both today, tomorrow, and Thursday. It's going to be feeling a little bit more humid out there, but watch what happens as we go into Friday and Saturday. Much more refreshing air. It's cooler and much more less humid as well. So here's what's going on down the road here. Big upper trough is going to come in from Canada. This is going to equate out to cooler than average temperatures across much of the continental 48 where you see all the blue. That is temperatures below normal, and you can see we're kind of on the fringe of it. So this is going out through at least the first couple of weeks of this month. Live look downtown from the HD News Now kit from the Doubletree Hotel, and you can see here here, just the clouds around right now. Overcast skies at the airport, 67. Southeast wind to 9, and this is a part of the problem today. Dew point up a little bit. Dew point at 63. When the dew point is in the 60s, that's when you start to feel the mugginess in the air. You can see the clouds around on the satellite and radar composite. All of this is actually going to stay well to our south, but there's another storm system right about in here. This is going to be moving our way tomorrow, and that's going to bring us some showers and thunderstorms through the day tomorrow. Tropical depression number 15 out here just off the North Carolina coast. If this forms into a tropical storm, which the NHC does believe it will, this will be given the name Nana. It should not form into a hurricane. I know some people have shared that meme on Facebook. It's not going to turn into a hurricane, at least. And a new potential tropical cyclone down here off the Yucatan, potential tropical cyclone number 16. If this forms into a tropical storm, it'll be given the name Omar, but this is going to be impacting mainly Mexico, no threat to the United States. So let's take you through a future scan here. You can see the model does pop up a few of those isolated to scattered showers through the afternoon today, but again, I wouldn't necessarily count on those actually materializing. As we get into tonight, just a small chance for a shower overnight. The more widespread rain comes in for tomorrow, maybe a couple thunderstorms as well within that. And again, there could be some heavy rainfall here, which the model is actually depicting. And rainfall totals tomorrow could likely exceed about a half inch. So we'll have to keep our eyes on that. 64 to 71 tonight, mostly cloudy, just a few scattered showers, but it will be much more muggier. Here comes the future for you. 78 tomorrow, 80 on Thursday. It's going to be much more humid, so keep that in mind. Friday, 71, much cooler. Look at the morning low on Saturday, 49. Refreshing, and Labor Day looking mainly nice right now, just a small chance of a shower. Justin?
All right, Dakota, thank you very much. That's going to do it for us today. Of course, news continues 24/7 at WNYNewsNow.com and on our mobile app. We're back here tomorrow. Hope to see you then.